Film theory is a field of cultural criticism that focuses on the history, analysis, and theorizing of film. It has evolved over time from technical and formal analysis to considerations of audience, psychology, and the broader cultural, ideological, and economic context of film production and consumption. For the first half of the 20th century, film theory was largely the outcome of the actual filmmaking of directors. It was not until the 1960s and 1970s that film study became an academic discipline subjected to structuralist, semiotic, and psychoanalytic thinking that overtook literary and cultural criticism in general. The history of film can be traced back to the 1860s when various devices were invented for producing moving images. The technology for developing motion pictures, such as celluloid, motion camera, and projector, developed rapidly. The first motion pictures shown to the public were in Paris in 1895 and in New York City in 1896. French philosopher Henri Bergson, who examined the concept of time, was considered the starting point of film theory. Some major film theories include Canudo, Lindsay, and Münsterberg. Canudo argued that film integrated spatial arts like architecture, sculpture, painting, music, dancing, and poetry with temporal arts like music, dancing, and poetry. Lindsay placed film in the context of other arts like poetry and sculpture, while Münsterberg analyzed the psychology of the audience and the aesthetics of film. Classical film theory emerged in the era of silent films, primarily concerned with the formal aesthetic qualities and techniques that distinguished film from other arts. The connection between film and reality has been a subject of interest for several major writers. Walter Benjamin, in his 1932 essay, The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction, argued that the uniqueness of a person or object could not be replicated on film, which was mechanically and mass produced. Rudolf Arnhem, a German born psychologist and art critic, argued that filmic images help shape reality and produce meaning, drawing attention to film as an artistic form. Bela Ballas, a Hungarian born critic and poet, advanced his humanistic theory that film expresses the language of the human body and face in a way that written culture cannot, and that the close up is the most crucial component of film. Realist cinema was championed by André Bazin. Bazin propounded a realistic aesthetic where film expresses an objective reality with as little intrusion of the direct as possible. He urged the use of deep focus, wide shots, and long takes, producing a continuity that the spectator was left to interpret. Siegfried Crocker, another pioneer of realism, argued that film should be realistic, but not in conventional ways. Its images should orient audiences away from normalized ways of seeing the world. Film studies attained a more scholarly and rigorous status with Mitri's work, which attempted to synthesize the two trends mentioned above in classical film theory, the realist and the aesthetic or formal. Mitri's phenomenological approach recognized that we can only know the external world through our subjective perceptual apparatus, and film reflects the director's perception of the world, imparting structure and meaning to reality. In 1954, French film director and critic Truffaut initiated the auteur theory, which became widely influential in the field. This theory posited that a film was an expression of the creative vision of its director, who was considered its author. This theory has its roots in the writings of André Bazin and Alexandre Astrud. This became the foundation of the French film movement called the Nouvelle Vague or the New Wave. Truffaut and Godard also focused on popular Hollywood films and promoted genre studies, allowing films by different directors to be categorized within the same genre. This led to the birth of two contrasting modes of analysis: auteur theory, and genre theory. In the 1960s and 1970s, film theory became an academic discipline, falling under the influence of cultural theory and literary theory. Structuralism and semiotics, which viewed literary texts as systems of signs within larger signifying patterns and codes, extended their analysis to film, the media, and popular culture in general. Christian Metz's book Film Language